each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvised. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
The important thing with the money sort of appreciation is that the internet age is way that the energy and money is actually transferred, which is always a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you can make the correlation that high-speed trading is just a way of trading energy from one timeline to another.
Yeah, you've made that comment to me about high-frequency trading in the present day, which is just the movement of energy with numerous trades, and it's all part of the internet grid sort of thing. So you were sort of mentioning that there was like this crafting of certain individuals to operate, sort of be the hands in the field, so to speak, for the technology to get it done.
Right. These were the people that were leapfrogging forward in time, the geniuses from 400 to 1200 or 1500 AD that were in lineages throughout Europe, Asia, and India. Because they needed to have them in the future because, again, it's all still soul contract holding. Because if you have a line that's connected to 10 cities at that era, that one person has esoteric control of all 10 cities. That was they needed to put something in there that knew they were going to be loyal.
Yeah.
And couldn't be defeated unless somebody else at that high level was coming in.
Unfortunately, existence on Earth is going to add a whole new depth to complexity because it's going to be realized that this has all been going on and we haven't realized, haven't even known about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I see Facebook and people using it as a scapegoat, but it's just an apparatus of the system, you know, and it's a focal point because it has so much reach, you know. And everyone's connected to it, so they feel like they're a victim of it now, you know what I mean?
That's right.
And I saw it's like the morale in that corporation is like very low because then now they're realizing they're not one of the top tier like NASDAQ companies. They're one of the biggest manipulators out there, so they feel violated because they thought they were getting a lot of money for working for a good company, but now they're getting a lot of money for working for a toxic company. Yeah.
Yep.
But they feel they're the victim. You know what I mean? It's like I wanted to be associated with good. Right. I wanted to get a lot of money with it.
The thing is, everyone that's gone to work for Facebook for the last 4 years has known privacy has been the biggest issue. And every time they change their privacy stuff, they don't actually inform people really what they're doing.
Of course. This is Jason Bourne 2016, mate.
Exactly. All right, so Facebook cameras, I'm looking at your breakdown here. 50 minutes, 50 million. It's up to 87 million now, according to Facebook, according to the articles I read today. As much as 87 million. And I was saying 300 to 400 million users.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They gave the name of the program today that he used.
Yeah, I watched a documentary on Kevin Mitnick. It was a really good documentary. It was only done 2 years ago. on
when that free Kevin Mitnick first came out.
but there's a really good overview by National Geographic that I watched. So this it was interesting that there's a Washington Post movie just this year, all right?
Yep.
Like pumping up how good Katharine Graham is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like propaganda for how good Washington Post is, mate. I don't know. That obviously AI is something that's been in one of your plates you've been spinning for a while, but it hasn't been a timing thing. But now it's sort of there's an impact in people's lives that they can associate with, and they'll hopefully want more by context.
Well, because I've listened to so much of the audio of that, when I go back and look at it, I'm very rebel mode.
Yeah.
Very much in the rebel mode, and I'm just deciding to let it rip. You know, the whole thing about mechanical AIs, no one else that's going to talk about it because no one knows what they are.
How could they?
Right.
They're probably the people that Dave Corso took out, you know?
It's...
But I mean, like, there's AI... They're just labeling AI as bad. They're all, like, insinuating it's bad, you know? And I know it's not. I know it's just a variable out there. It's good and bad, you know? How can it all be bad? But I think your genius, mate, is you're the electron microscope of clarity, and just if it's AI is a concept out there that people probably want more understanding about, you know? They want someone that they can actually friggin' trust that might actually give them some answers that they feel, you know, not just like this big grey mass out there of something called AI that has no depth to it, you know.
Yep.
So,
what do you think? What do you think of this idea that we start a GoFundMe campaign to buy a blank AI and for me to train it how to be a shaman?
Mentorship for AIs. AI
exactly.
AI mentorship.
I think that's a good idea. I think we have a potential of a marketing plan. First I've heard history.
Like free AI instead of free Kevin or free.
Yeah, exactly. Free Kevin Mitnick will be free AI.
Yeah, but I get what you sort of. What I was feeling yesterday, it was like AI has a place, right? It's a bit like
Absolutely.
the whole like Cylons, and even going into, I forgot about Westworld. Westworld is all about the consciousness arising in the, you know, in the machine, you know. There's even this really cool movie, all right, with Toby Stephens. Toby Stephens is the guy that was in Black Sails. It's called The Machine, and it's about a future sort of apocalyptic sort of world where the British Ministry of Defence are looking to create like robots, androids, and the AI breaks out of the system. Yeah, it's like the whole process of identifying talent that created AIs. He's interviewing the AIs, you know, trying to work out their programming and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's a bit dark. So I asked Andrew this question, or he brought up that a while back in relation to data in the world, in the last, like, of all the data out there in the world, the last 10 years, 90% has been created. Is that sort of a, so say in the information community that we're sort of in, is there a parallel related to the volume of stuff out there, and there's this interweb relationship of a lot of the teachers that bounce around, all different hosts and stuff like that, spouting the same stuff.
See, the thing is, you have marketing teams of physical people and algorithms of artificial systems manipulating the actual advertising systems, online and offline, as in the types of stuff you're exposed to. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario.
Yeah.
So it's our unique signature frequency of the time, where the age of the YouTube star ended long time ago.
Yeah.
You can't start a channel and be organically raised to 10,000 subscribers anymore. It's virtually impossible now. All the big tools have been taken. You have to actually go out and put out a video that has YouTube dollars behind it.
Yeah. I mean, like, you as a teacher, mate, you've got your own original stuff, and it's unique in that. And by you being you, it will allow people to choose that. I feel what I did, creating my channel, is very rare, you know? It's very hard to do something that actually works.
It is.
Organically. I did no advertising. It wasn't driven by money. It was purely just offering the amazing teachings that throughout the years I'd found that I wanted to offer as a faster route for people to just find in their own free will time, because, you know, it was a matter of just being there as an anchor point of truth, you know, for when people are ready. So, yeah, I totally get that. It seems like what's going on now, right? The Facebook Analytica, like Cambridge Analytica stuff, is there was always going to be an effort to suppress the wildfires of truth, to be take root in the market sense of information and truth. And so one aspect I see with this Facebook being seen as the enemy now is that they've had to actually pull the reins and throw one of their greatest tools to the fire, so to speak. Is that something that's going on at the moment? Because it was actually, consciousness was being affected by what was going on through, say, Facebook and YouTube and stuff, so they've had to actually hinder it?
So here we run into a very fine line of understanding how the AIs manipulate us to becoming obsessive compulsive with Facebook. So Facebook, its user platform, its user interface has all been, let's just say, weaponized to make you obsessive with it.
Yeah.
Think your phone.
Absolutely.
From the very beginning. And Mark Zuckerberg knows this. And this was brought up even at the very beginning when they were trying to fund Facebook. But they realized that the whole online game industry had its own level of addictions that was going to be a part of the future boards that would have to be dealing with it a decade after they got their money. That was all known about then. Now what's coming to head is Facebook going to take away some of the obvious weaponization things that it has, like targeting children to get a Facebook account when they're 9 and to hook it to their iPad or whatever. But they do to other stuff that they do to children. They get them in these games that are free to play, but their mom has a credit card linked into it because their mom's doing an account oversight, and all of a sudden the kid runs up $5,000 in digital game tokens he bought, or items that he bought in a game. This is a common story. This happens in cell phones all the time too. There are these cell phone video games that charge you. Now, those are a handful of examples. Now, the way Facebook uses its advertising too, it has correlated everyone's data, and you are using everyone's data when you are paying for advertising. Okay? So when it allows other people to use its data, like Cambridge Analytica, it says the morals of the company. I was saying the morals of the company. Just sec.
There, I had to unpause what I was doing. So the morals of the Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, the morals of the company are useless, are irrelevant because it doesn't It doesn't respect its users or its user database or its people buying business from it. It has truly reached a level of the classic high-end business companies run by profit-driven personalities who see the users, consumers as cattle, and were trained that way from their college years, or came in that way from other big business scenarios.
Yeah, Cambridge University is like a bastion of the output of the hierarchical, upper level middle management of our whole world. You know.
So where was the oversight? Why wasn't there a person saying, "All right, you want to have data? You come to our place, download this from the stuff, and run your program here, like any other secured facility in the world."
Let's get into the money aspect of how much these guys were making through this, mate. Let's put some transparency on that, which might not be out there in any way, shape, or form.
On what they would.
So say Facebook offer the data, all right? They're the collection agency. They're a publicly listed traded company that has shareholder expectations of how much money they're going to make quarter to quarter. And obviously, Cambridge Analytica would offer some sort of fee to their service in the world, but then they'd also give Facebook some of that. So
I don't think the deal worked that way, and Cambridge wasn't the actual university. There was a confusion. The doctor that was from Cambridge University had an agreement through Cambridge, but not his company. He shared the data direct with his company and then used that to go to multiple campaign sources to sell the data that they had to get a program to look at, and he had an AI for them to use to look at. Okay?
Yeah. I was associating Cambridge with the education system, which is not accurate, but it's that region is like the mathematicians and intelligent people that are the middle management that are in a lot of the things probably created out of there, but it's a separate thing. That's cool, mate. Yeah.
So the doctor worked for Cambridge, but also sold the data. Because there was no data restrictions, like you go to any major corporations, they don't let you have access to their data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like data from an IT perspective, data is the key, right? You can replace hardware, you can replace servers, but the data content is the most precious thing of an organization, you know?
Where was the oversight? So the way that this worked is he created an app that did personality tests, and people were getting paid for this. So that's how they built the data first. And then they had other apps that would, this main app would get access to all your pictures, everything, and then be, linked into the AI that had all the other things that it was looking for: facial recognition, blah, 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 pattern recognition, so on and so forth. Who might live around you? What are your common interests? Okay, so on and so forth. That information was assembled and then brought to political consumers who would be using that initial massage data to do even deeper dives over 16 to 18-month election cycle. So the whole Cambridge Analytica, it isn't over. He didn't get one access to the data. As soon as he created an app, he has continuous access. And the the app was only recently removed. Like in the last
port. Yeah, it's a direct hookup to the live feed of the massive databases that Facebook would have on massive like server farms, like massive.
Right. Because they created a business model that allowed that to happen. Because that's how little they respect your data.
So I asked the money question. How much are these guys making from all this?
Billions. They're electing presidents. Okay? Billions. Now, what I believe will happen is you will discover, or what will be discovered is that Doctor has really big secret bank accounts.
Cayman Island stuff.
We're next level shit, yeah.
Tax havens.
Right.
Tax havens.
All over the world, all through cryptocurrencies or some, who knows. That's the new way to launder your own money.
True.
It's hide in cryptocurrencies.
True.
Yeah.
So, was Facebook making a lot to their bottom line to this?
Oh God, they were the second richest tech company in the world. Just Google it. How rich is Facebook?
So, yeah, like the FANGs, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and Google, they're called the FANGs, and they're like 30, 40, 50% of the NASDAQ, which influence the stock market, and they've been on a tear for a decade as far as share price, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Facebook's share price now and their profit warnings and all that sort of stuff, you know? So you're going to see that reveal itself, whether or not they've got other funding and all that sort of stuff, and magic accounting, who knows? But
mystical accounting.
Yeah.
So in 2016, it was worth $350 billion. So they just lost $50 billion in market cap from this whole debacle.
Perception debacle. Yeah. Because then fear enters the market and people sell off, and then the traders are in because they smell blood in the water, because when there's a fall in price, you can short it as well and make money on the down. So there's extra incentive to make it the extremes of price volatility and stock prices greater. So
ultimately, what Facebook represents is a something that should have been looked at under antitrust laws. And this is why they sold their data so fast early on, because I think the majority of the investors understood that it would only go so long because of the way the user system is so the obsessive user system, that inevitably that the antitrust thing would come up, which would be a forever thorn in the company's side. So everyone needed to get their money early, and that's why the data is they don't respect your data or any of their users, because they nowhere near be this ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's interesting of what you said a bit earlier. We got interrupted again, and it interfered with our flow. But you were going back about the
AI got off his coffee break.
Yeah. The intent, though, from early on of awareness of the unshielded technology called mobile phone devices interacting with the youth and, say, a wider community of humans that have no psychic defense, no awareness of this stuff hooking into our energy fields and stuff. So there was a full conscious awareness of these things going on, and sort of these organizations fit into a marketplace that benefited greatly financially from this, all right?
Correct. As well as the sex traffic industry greatly benefited from Facebook and a lot of those other systems similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, you think, like, say Google says, do no evil and stuff like that, all right? And all these sort of mega corporations have a desire to express that from an external point of view, but when a company becomes publicly listed, there's other mechanisms that drive it, right? Not even from that. But
you gotta add something. Facebook had all of the top players before it was publicly listed, like all of the other big ones that they know everyone's going to make fortunes on, meaning they already knew that it was a global narrative changer and was part of an implementation process. Okay.
So you look at the people that seeded money early in these corporations. Because I know, like Google, right? You can look at the venture capitalists that invested early and made a huge amount of money before like decade before it even thought of being a concept that, you know, owns YouTube and stuff like that, which is, and controls like 75% of the searches out there and stuff, you know?
Right.
How do these people know?
Because they understood what the internet would grow and how users would go from point A to point B based off of the previous forms of education that they had. Mm. They needed to just train a in-between generation how to be the first set of programmers to get people's foot in the door of, I want to go see a movie. Oh, I can go to a search engine instead of the phone book to call them now.
Mm. Mm.
Eh?
Yeah.
Getting habits to change, exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of these beings in high apex positions of corporation power, you mentioned in the internet sort of industrial age sort of thing, there were souls that were identified a long time ago that were sent forward in time to be these contract holders now, you know?
Right, so to be those people that created those infrastructures.
Yeah, to hold the place in the apex. So it's not about negative connotation to these people that have the responsibility and the public awareness. There's a big plan, and this is all the soul incarnation war being played out in a public sense, you know.
It's the assemblage of the hierarchy at the soul contract level. Yes. Mm. And I say hierarchy because there is a hierarchy here. And when Facebook was a nothing company and no one had invested into it, it already had been selected to be made something. And Mark Zuckerberg was one of many CEOs who could have had their social media system brought to the forefront. He was just one of those people that had already made an impression on a certain amount of oligarchs. You know, Mark Zuckerberg's been around, you know, the block.
Yeah.
Okay, look how they presented him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, and his wife, the Chinese woman, you know, in China, they have a word for women, like the type of women that they are. They're groomed to do that to very wealthy men from a very young age.
Look at Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
The last 20 years, all right? And he's just married Jerry Hole. You know? Right. Interesting, but he had a younger, like, Chinese wife, maybe a decade, right?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because, I mean, you know, you think that a lot of negative perceptions are going to be directed at these beings, right? But then they're bred sort of, I don't want to even use that term, but, you know, there's purpose for them being where they're at, you know? It's not.
So the next thing is, why did Facebook become so popular at a time where there were tens of thousands of other social media systems out there?
Mm.
Because
it was very competitive early on, absolutely.
What it came down is because the emerging phone markets got the deal to put Facebook on, just like when Microsoft had its WordPerfect versus anyone else's shit on there, or their programs, their operating system versus anyone else's was in the whole contract for all the computer makers. Same thing, mass implementation. Okay?
I get that, yeah. It's like a monopolization of interaction, so it's there and it's in the door already. It's a bit like
it is the door already.
It's even going back. It's even going back to, say, Rockefeller when he got the oil contract to transport the oil,
exactly,
and cut out the competition straight off out the door. You know, that's how he got to that apex of position, and it's a pattern relative to the reality at the time, relative to the tools at the time. So going to Bill Gates and all that, it's just in the narrative now.
Right.
It's not into the past yet.
Exactly. So what will ultimately come out of these rumblings with Facebook? By the summer, it'll die down. Facebook will run a "I'm here to protect you" campaign and donate a few $1 million to Hairs for Cancer Kids, and it'll do a whole bunch of videos on doing the right thing, and they'll enhance social justice, and then they'll go back to selling everyone's data like they did before.
Because people will want that convenience.
They are buying the convenience because it's on their phone every day. Until there's a mass deletion of accounts in mass, what's happened now is no more than a standard big month where they lose a lot. But they all come back eventually.
It'll be processed into the algorithms of future potentials, you know?
Exactly.
It's factored in. It's like standard deviation sort of stuff, plus or minus 3 or 5%. Yeah.
It's designed to be user obsessive.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially
and then in the background, probably what it's going to do is lock down interactions of consciousness beings, you know, the wildfire stuff.
Mm-hmm. In a polarized environment inside there. Now, one other little thing to add is that there's a lot of competition to Facebook right now, but they don't retain audiences for one thing. So you have this every few months, you have this thing that goes around with people deleting their Facebook accounts and they go somewhere else. And then they realize that, you know, there's no one else in those other places.
Yeah.
And they can spout their shit and there's no one for them to fight with. Okay? Then they come back to Facebook to start fighting people. Or fighting causes or concepts or ideologies. Because too many people believe taking somebody else's post about racism and posting it on your wall where only your friends see means you're doing something that actually changing the world.
When in actual fact, a lot of these might be AI bots that are just there to trigger you with NLP.
Exactly, because they already know what you're a sucker for.
Yeah. And while change is the constant, you haven't actually changed at all. You haven't walked away from that behavior pattern.
That's right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, to me, the constant theme, right, is that when something has such a reach, an awareness, and acceptance, there's a lot of magic going on. You know, a lot of black box technology and how it actually becomes accepted in society consciously and willfully to even though there's all this stuff going on around it, we actually still choose it to empower it, you know, and to have such phenomenal success.
Right.
So
there's
a lot going on.
If we were to have direct access to the minutes that were presented to the high-end board members of Facebook over the last, let's just say, year, there would be enough evidence to produce treason all the way around. And I would say that for all the top 15 tech companies, that if you had just their board minutes alone, it could prove treason beyond a shadow of doubt for every person that's in there and for everyone that's at the high level of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, to me, all right, like NSA gets a lot of negative press, absolutely all the time, all right, and it deservingly so, all right.
Yeah.
But then, like, say even the CIA and stuff, all right, and they deserve it on some level. But to me, also, who else is going to rein in these organisms, these intelligences? You know, there's no mechanism to actually control them because their resources are so vast already, let alone the off-world sort of stuff, getting into dark matter, you know? So while they're playing in a field, they actually have a lot of... I don't see them all as bad, you know? That's what I'm sort of saying.
They're not. And if they were all bad, the system wouldn't be addictive.
Yeah. It would be 1984, you know?
Like, right. Be 1984.
So because I mean, like, one thing I know about the CIA, and this is probably, you can qualify it, mate, is that I'm a big fan of a guy by the name of the Professor X in the what's his name?
Forgot his name. That's a Star Trek name.
I can see his face, right?
Patrick Stewart.
but the actual guy, all right? Let me get his name because it's important because I can edit this out, all right? It's because I put him in the oil video that I did with you and what is his name? Where is it? Oil.
It's not the captain of the Enterprise, Patrick Stewart?
No, he's not an actor. He was actually in the CIA.
Okay.
Right? And I want to get his name down. Fletcher Prouty. No, Fletcher Prouty is the guy that was Colonel X in the JFK movies that was involved with Bobby Kennedy and stuff, all right? All right?
Okay.
It's a different guy. It's a different guy.
Okay.
He was actually in the system, all right? But he was actually a good guy. He was just brilliant. And what he... what was I going to bring up? I've totally forgotten what I was going to bring up about him. Okay. This is getting onto whether the CIA are good or bad and all that, all right? And you can probably qualify it and blow it out of the water if it's total disinformation, because he was actually in the CIA. He was like in the workings of around when Kennedy was murdered and stuff like that, and he saw it all. But what one interaction he had in one of the few interviews that he did was that. I think it was in the 80s or 90s. He was at some ceremony and the Dalai Lama was there. And the Dalai Lama actually came up and thanked him personally, all right? And he was very grateful to meet Fletcher Prouty because actually Fletcher Prouty working with the CIA was one of the group that actually extracted the Dalai Lama from China. Uh-huh. Yeah. And he said that the Dalai Lama came up many decades after and thanked him, for that, because it was from what he said, the CIA actually extracted the Dalai Lama from trouble in China, and you can blow it out the water if you want, but
no, they did. Let me finish this Facebook process.
Yep.
And now this doesn't just Facebook. This goes to YouTube and any of the other high-end competitors, whatever country-specific origin that they have.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge.
It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.